Hello there, hi, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to our next session of reading Machiavelli's Discourses. We're still looking in the first book, and today we're doing chapter 27 of the Discourses, which deals with the question of what he says, the title says, very rarely do men know how to be altogether wicked or altogether good. Now, this continues the principle of the question that ended in the last chapter, which dealt with the question of, the dealing of, tyranny, the tyrannical or despotic rule was necessary if you're going to change. If you're going to change everything, you don't really want to preserve the. In other words, it's not the matter or the political community you're dealing with doesn't have the possibility of being free. The institutions being free. And that you're going to change it, you have to change everything. The problem with this is the question he talks about. Then it ends with this discussion, or the highlight of the problem of the decider, this problem that men have, or actors, political actors have, about the question of being either completely, either wicked, altogether wicked, or altogether good. They just can't. They just have this problem about this, and they want to choose a middle way. Well, this is the problem, that men always want to choose a middle way that may not be possible. Now, in logic, we call this often the problem of the excluded middle, right? And this is what this chapter is kind of dealing with, and it gives examples, right? So let's go into it. So again, this is one of the brief little chapters that hit on the next, so let's go to it. When Pope Julius II went to Bologna in 1505 to expel from that state the house of the Bentavoghi, and which had held the principate of that city for 100 years. Now, the principate is they were princes. The family was the dynastic family that ruled as princes in that city. He also wished, as one who had taken an oath as churchman, right, against all the tyrants who had seized the towns of the church, to remove Giovanni Baglioni, tyrant of Perugia. Okay, so he made a town that anyone who has seized the town and ruled like a despot, a prince, he swore an oath to undo those and remove those people who are ruling the towns of the church in the papal states, right? That. Having arrived near Perugia with this intent and decision known to everyone, he did not wait to enter that city with his army, which was guarding him, but entered it unarmed, notwithstanding that Giovanni was inside with many troops that he had gathered for defense of himself. So carried along by that fury with which he governed all things. This is Julius, right? He put himself with a single guard in the hands of his enemy, whom he then led away with him, leaving a governor in the city who would render justice for the church. Now, this is, let me see if I remember correctly, what is 3 about? Reason, or literally the reason, right? This is, now there's certain things that conspired, the principality, these are some of the word choices that they use. So therefore, go back to the second one, took an oath, or conspired, right? This is a conspired. They conspired to do this, and then he took a reason. He gave a rendered justice, or made a reason for the church, rendered reason or principle for the church. The rashness of the Pope and the cowardice of Giovanni were noted by the prudent men whom were with the Pope, including Machiavelli himself, who was the official dispatch attributed Baglioni's restraint to his good nature and his humanity. See Machiavelli's letter of December 13, 1506, and regarding the legations and the commissioners, right? The volume in it's Machiavelli's letters. in other words, the prudent men who were with the Pope, Machiavelli, right? And they were unaware, they were unable to guess whence it came that he did not, to his perpetual fame, crush his enemy at a stroke and enrich himself with booty, since with the Pope were all the cardinals, with their delights. In other words, if Giovanni, the Pope just comes up there with one guard, he could have he had the Pope, and he could have easily captured the Pope, but the Pope came with the cardinals. Could have killed the Pope and could have killed, but Machiavelli says in the note, the editors highlight that Machiavelli attributed this to Giovanni's good nature, right? That he wasn't going to kill him, but he had his enemy right there. The Pope said he was going to remove him, and the Pope just goes in there himself, recklessly, and just gets him in the vehicle, and he goes with him, and he appoints a governor. No need to sack the city, right? Nor could one believe that he had abstained either through goodness or through conscience, that he held him back. For into the breast of a villainous man, whom was taking his sister for himself, whom killed his cousins and his nephews, so as to reign, no pious respect could descend. So there's given how Giovanni, how he came to power, right? He had incest. He took his sister. He was clearly considered a villainous man because taking his sister for himself, he had his sister, killed his cousins and nephews so he could reign. No, this idea no pious men could have achieved would be that kind of thing. But it was concluded that it arose from men's not knowing how to be honorably wicked or perfectly good. That's Machiavelli's. And the idea is this is what Machiavelli himself concludes, because he's one of the prudent men there, right? And therefore, one of the people who are some of the people who present their judgment on this. And therefore, what's interesting here is that this presentation of this judgment, Machiavelli puts in the mouth of these prudent men, right, seeing what was done, and that this is their estimation, right? But he is one of those prudent men, so it's his estimation. But he does not present it as his estimation. Okay, so therefore this is interesting. So it was concluded that it arose from men not knowing how to be honorably wicked or perfectly good. And when malice has greatness in itself, or is generous in some part, they do not know how to enter into doing these extremes, being very absolutely good. In other words, they have what that they don't know how to be honorably wicked or perfectly good. Now notice as he changes the word wickedness. Instead of wickedness, the wickedness that he presents here is honorable wickedness versus absolute wickedness. At the beginning of the text, let's go look at the beginning of the text. It said, altogether wicked, right? Now we have, instead of altogether wicked, we have a discussion of honorably wicked. So Machiavelli changes the goalpost a little bit. That this is not absolutely wickedness, but about honorably wicked. What is the thing? An idea that you're preserving something, you're preserving your political rule, you're preserving your state. So therefore, it doesn't know how to be, not knowing how to be honorably wicked or perfectly good. And the problem here is that when malice has greatness in itself, in other words, that there's a possibility that the malice, bad action, has greatness in it, or is generous in some part. In other words, the actor who's going to do something, in other words, either the malice has greatness or the malicious actor has some generosity in some part. They know not how to enter into being how either perfectly good or bad. So Giovanni, who did not mind being incestuous and a public parricide, did not know how, or to say it better, did not dare, when he had just the opportunity for it, to engage in an enterprise in which everyone would have admired his spirit and would have left an eternal memory of himself as being the first who had demonstrated to prelates how little is to be esteemed whomever lives and reigns as they do. In other words, killing the Pope, and the Pope is coming here. The Pope is weak. The Pope has nothing. He didn't bring his army with him. And Julius is notorious for being the Pope who's the armored Pope. Right? That's the picture of him. He's the only Pope. A picture of the Pope who, if Alexander starts the wars, Julius is the one who leads the battles, right? And therefore, this is why and that he would have that if Giovanni just simply. Now, Machiavelli is kind of being circumspect. He doesn't say, kill him. He doesn't openly, but that's what the implication of what Machiavelli is saying. That if he killed Julius, he would have been famous. He would have been remembered for everyone. He would have stood up to the churchmen. Stood up to the forces of the church. Not fearing it in that sense. But he did apparently, who knows, he had generosity, good nature. He would be the first who had demonstrated to the prelates how little is to be esteemed whomever lives and reigns as they do. In other words, those princes who are the churchmen who are. Remember, this is also criticism of the churchmen. Julius is not being merely a churchman concerned of the secular, the things of faith and this and the spiritual things. He's concerned about the temporal things, the secular things, the ruling. And ruling over other cities, ruling over others, political rule. So it's and the criticism is Julius is going beyond his call as churchman, a church leader of the leading of the spiritual, to leading of the political realm, and that therefore this is what he talks about, that how little esteemed of who lives and reigns as they do. There was an attack on the church. Attack on the church as a political entity, right? And he would have done a thing whose greatness would have surpassed all infamy. Every danger that could have proceeded from it. In other words, if he killed Julius, he was. The question is, first of all, was Julius? There's a lot of questions. How he ends this chapter raises questions. He seems to be suggesting that it would, instead of being, it's unthinkable why this guy who, he did not mind being incestuous or being a patricide, right, would not then kill Julius when he had the occasion to do it, and the benefit of doing it, and that if he did it, it would have led to his greatness, right? He says. Because he would have stood up to the church being a temporal power, a temporal agent in that sense. Given how the church is not going beyond what it's supposed to be, and that from the spiritual to the temporal, right? And this is a problem with this, is that he said he would have, and he said, in other words, in doing this, he would have surpassed all infamy. Every danger that proceeded from killing Julius. No, that's how it ends. And it ends briefly. So we get this a very shocking chapter here that ends in this. Well, with that, let's get your questions. Please put your questions, comments, or things on the bottom, and I'll respond to them when I see it. If you liked it, if you like what we did here, like it, hit the like button. If you liked it or want to, please share it. Please share the episode on social media or different means. Share with your friends. Spread it out. If you've not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. Encourage others to come check us out and to subscribe. Check out, if you're interested in Machiavelli, you can see the other the playlist of our 2 run-throughs of the Machiavelli prints, and other books from Aristotle's Politics, Aristotle's Ethics. We did Thucydides, Peloponnesian War. We did many things over time, including some modern stuff like Schmidt and Rousseau, as well as Locke. So go check out the playlist. Now, if you didn't like it, you can always thumbs down it, please, and but say why. Say why so people can benefit, to understand why you're doing it and what is the reason, and maybe you can learn. Did something wrong that you think correct something I said, or didn't like something I highlighted. That's about it for today. Oh yeah, the other thing is you can follow me on social media. The social media links are below. You want to know more about me as a scholar and as an academic researcher, you can check the academic social media links below the social media links. And if you want to help me to do what I do, you can do so through Patreon or through Subscribestar. You can do this also through by buying one of my books. You can do it, the ways you can buy the books is, of course, your local bookstore. If possible, they'll order it for you, but if that may be too slow, or, you can order it through an online distributor like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and, Libris, whatever. Or you can order through the publishers directly. Well, that's it. Again, please do interact with the thing, because any interaction, comments, thumbs up or even thumbs down, and also sharing things, all improve the algorithm, and that helps get more attention. We had a couple people kind of leave the subscription list because I think they every month they purge people who are inactive on the, Google now kind of goes through and purge things of people who no longer are inactive, or maybe who died or dropped using Google. So please go check it out. Take care and have a great day. Bye bye.